just wanted to update you really quickly on the success of the nasturtium in the garden. So maybe I planted a little bit too much. Oh my gosh, they're everywhere. What's funny is that potatoes are coming up next to them because there's a potato patch right here. This is potato, and look at how pretty their little potato flowers are. They're kind of like a bluish purple. But anyhow, yeah, this nasturtium has taken over. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Also wanted to show you a couple of other things. I have over here, kind of in my little junk pile, we've got borage. Borage is the witch's plant. And this is something that I will be taking and clipping, and we're going to be doing some videos. This is going to be probably the next video. Maybe it's this video. Who knows? Oh, got that. We've got strawberries. My peaches are starting to come out. That's usually late summer, early fall when the peaches start coming. Big. These are going to be like huge frost peaches. Then look at the apples. Look at the apples. They're coming. They're coming. We've got carrots started to finally sprout up. We've got cilantro that's gotten like crazy and taken over. I've got to come out here and trim. Tomatoes are finally doing their thing. Look at that. Look at this nasturtium from the other side. It's crazy. I've got beets in here somewhere. Bok choy. And then I let my other stuff, my arugula, it started to bolt. So, but the bees are loving it. So I'm letting the bees have their pollen. I'm feeding the bees. That's what I'm doing. If you come over here, I wanted to show you my coveted, here, through the garden. Oh. My coveted artichoke. Look at it's doing its thing. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of this choke. So proud. I can't even tell you. It took about 2-3 years. This has been planted, and finally a choke. I'm gonna let it do its great big huge like bloom, so it's gonna look a lot like the thistle, you know, because that's the family that this is in, is the thistle. So I'm not gonna eat this one. I'm gonna let it do its bloom, and I'm just gonna photograph the hell out of it because I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Yes. But over around the side over there are poppy pods. We're gonna go take a couple of those, and we're gonna talk about poppies today. That's what we're going to talk about. And then next time, we'll talk about borage, because there'll be a lot more of it around. All right, I'm back. All right, now that we've gone through the garden a little bit and we saw some of the really cool things that are happening out there, I think because the sun came out finally in the Pacific Northwest and stuff is starting to grow, I'm so excited. One thing though, we're going to talk today about the poppy, because I have some of the poppy pods that I've picked from the garden. We had in late spring some really beautiful poppy pictures that had happened, or big ornamental poppies that have come out, and I've not seen the little ones come out this year, and I don't know if it was maybe a lack of water or what it was, but I haven't really seen the little ones come out the way they did last spring. So without further ado, I want to get in and talk to you guys about the poppy. And this is actually a repeat of what I've done in a previous video, but I just wanted to show you what an actual poppy pod looks like. So here is a poppy pod, and this come from my garden. This was a great big huge, I believe this one was a purple poppy. It's a gorgeous like lavender color, and it had like a kind of like a white center with like black. It was really nice. If you can hear, can you hear? There's a shaking. Those are the seeds in there. So you can pollinate a poppy, not pollinate, sorry, you can distribute or propagate a poppy by just, you know, shaking it, an old pod, shaking the pod around where you want the seeds to grow. Just make sure that you water them very well. And the poppy is actually associated with a lot of different things. And you're like, what is this poppy pod? This actually was the center of the flower. So just imagine the big leaves coming around this way. And then when the flower dies off, the seed pod is created. And when I say seeds, like, look, I had put this all in a coffee filter, but these are the seeds that come out. Can you see those? There's just hundreds upon hundreds of them, and it's still like a little rattle in there. I've seen these in a lot of these, you know, dried up poppy pods. Can be used for so many different things, so many different things. I've seen them in flower arrangements, and I am a third generation floral designer, and I really firmly believe, now being a witch, that some of those floral designs or floral arrangements were spells. Now knowing what those herbs and flowers are for, I totally think that they were spells, absolutely. But let's take an up close look here at our poppy. Do you see all of those little holes there? And then there's a trough that goes down that whole length from the top to the bottom, and that is where those seeds are hidden. Come on, focus. Focus. That's where those seeds are hidden. Isn't that so cool? Super cool. So let's get back to it. So I have some notes from my previous video, and I also looked up a couple of other things that I wanted to share with you. So first and foremost, so the zodiac sign that's correlated to the poppy is Cancer. It also is ruled by the moon. It's very emotional, very emotional. It gives very calming energy, and I think the reason for that is because the poppy itself, if you know anything about history, they talk about opium dens and milk of the poppy. The Wizard of Oz covers this. When the poppy field where they all go to sleep, you know, poppy is where opium comes from. And opium does help with pain, but it really relaxes somebody and helps them sleep. So there's that. There used to be a lot of opium dens back in the Victorian times, turn of the century, that poets, artists, various people, Mark Twain had an opium problem. They would smoke the poppy and or the milk of the poppy. I've not done this, so of course it doesn't sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I've not done this, but I've read about it. They smoked the poppy, whatever, but it was a paste. I'm not exactly sure how opium comes, but anyhow, they would smoke it, and then they would just lay back and just sort of check out. And that people would be in those dens for like a week to two. Like, they would just give them water and very basic amounts of food, and they would just check out and kind of like astral travel and go to various other places. They're trying to get their questions answered from the ether, from the spirits, whatever their muse was at that time. So it was something that is very, very pronounced in history. So there's different types of poppies. I come from California, so you probably saw those little small California poppies. They're usually bright orange. They'll cover the hillsides. Those also come in a couple of different colors. There's almost like a creamy yellow, like a light butter, and then also a pink. I do have those, and I did not see them. Those were the ones that I didn't see them this year. And it's probably because they just didn't have enough sun. It didn't warm up this spring the way it normally had. It was almost like a prolonged winter. Like we went from fall to winter and almost fall-like stuff again, and then eventually we got to spring, and then boom, summer. That's what happened here in the Pacific Northwest. It was very odd. So then you can also see those very large, huge ornamental poppies. Those is what this came from. Big, bright, red, gorgeous purples, blacks, purples that are like pale lavender, and then more of an eggplant, huge orange ones. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're very stately, very tall. You're just like, respect that flower. When you see it in person, you're like, damn, Okay, nature, okay. Like, it's pretty amazing. All right, so I want to talk about the small ones are generally used in like love, dreamy, imagination type spells. The large ones, or the large seeds, or the petals, we can preface either one of those two, are for like memorial, ancestry work, connection to Hecate, and also Aphrodite, which I was like, okay, I like it. And also confusion spells, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how I use them. So one that I looked up, and this comes from the previous video I've done. I've not done this, but I've done it in a different way, and I'll go over that. But you remember we talked about those little troughs, right? Right through there, those little troughs. So there is a spell that you can do where you write down your intentions. I look like such a granny when I do this. Oh, okay. You write down your intentions on a little tiny slip of paper. You write real small and you fold it up. You cut a slit in one of these troughs because it goes down, right? And you tuck your paper in there, and you probably would put it underneath. You have to make sure that the poppy seeds are all out, or you would just put this, I would put it in a plastic bag like a Ziploc or something, or an envelope, and that way it all stays together. And you put it under your pillow so that you can get the answers to your dreams. So you write your question or your spell on the little piece of paper, cut a slit, tuck it in, put it in an envelope or a Ziploc so your seeds don't go all over because you're going to be waking up going like, what the hell? Anyhow, you do that, and then you wait for the answers to come to you. I do it in a different way. So I showed this last time. I write my intention on my parchment, just generally a good size for me, which is like almost like a 5x7, but it's basically an 8.5 by 11 cut in half. Or I even cut it in quarters and then do my stuff. But for this purpose, I take it, I anoint the paper with some type of oil to try to expedite, give it a boost, you know, that type of thing. I write my intentions, I anoint, or I ask my question and anoint, and then I roll my poppy in the paper. I do it a couple of different ways. Roll it in, hold on. Rolling it up now. Roll it up, roll it up, roll it up. So I roll it up, stick is out. I squish this spot, I squish this pot, and I tie it. I'm like a piece of candy where you could twist, right? So it keeps it all in there. And I put coordinating color ribbon or twine on it to hold that question for me. Look, I already got seeds coming out. So that way the seeds don't get out and all of that, and then it's there. And then I put it under my pillow for the answers to the questions. I also, I got seeds everywhere. Back you go. I don't want to lose my seeds. Oh my gosh, just from that little sprig. So you just can see how many actual seeds are in that poppy. See all that? Look at all that. It's crazy sauce. Crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing. And people also decorate their homes with poppy pods. They are listed in the Victorian language of flowers. That is something amazing as well. And I think it's interesting that there's a lot of Victorian time correlations with the poppy and why they used it for just a myriad of things. We talked about pain relief and getting high and all that other stuff, right? Okay, so we talked about that. Place the poppy in the middle. Okay. All right, also the uses. Calming energy. Of course, it's calming energy. Of course. Communication with the infinite. Invisibility. And I want to talk about that a little bit later. We're going to get there. Confusion of spirits, making peace with the dead, surrender, and isn't that interesting when it's got that calm, you're able to drop your walls, and then you're able to like surrender to the thought, to be at a different plane or a different level of acceptance, to maybe hear information. Sometimes we're so wound so tight, wound so tight that sometimes I have to check out in order to see the bigger picture, feel the bigger picture, and I like to use poppy in that aspect. Not to smoke it. I don't smoke poppy. Let me be very clear about that. But using it in certain spells and using it definitely for dreams and that type of thing. Surrender, perspective, and inspiration. So the seeds themselves, confusion spells. Or it could even be added to my foot powder, my hot foot powder. I usually add some poppy seeds in there. Also add it for protection as well, sometimes in my protection salt. There is a myth or some folklore in regards to lower level demons or lower level energies, as also vampires, that if you shake the poppy pod and or scatter the seeds around at the edge of their property, they are then drawn to count all of the seeds. So it gives you a way of getting away. It confuses them, and it also casts a bit of invisibility in regards to unwanted activity or contact. And it could be boosted in a way that you could go protection, you know, or you could give it in a basic. It depends on how much energy you want to use and what you really want to do with it. I would at times, if I was doing spell work in the house and I didn't want to be interrupted, there are times I would shake the poppy seeds around outside my door, front and back, so that people would just kind of drop the package or leave the note or whatever, so that I can get my work done. That was a thing. But you can also like take a poppy pod that's full, or just the seeds themselves, and scatter them outside your circle once you've cast your circle. If you're doing any ritual work with friends or coven, you're able to do that. So that's just another layer of lower level energies not able to come in and bother you while you're doing your spell work. So there's that. So I talked about that. I'm trying to do. Also, they in my reading, there's several different deities that love the poppy. Great for offerings. They mentioned two in which I have worked with. Hecate, however you would like to say it. She'll tell you if you're wrong. Trust me, she will. And also Aphrodite. So what did I say I used poppies for? Love, you know. And then also there's a type of like banishment almost with poppies as well as if you're doing things with ancestor work, which I do. So that is amazing to use the poppy for these things. When working with deity, when you have those contracts and communication with them, they will tell you what they like. Just because it's written in a book does not mean that is what's going to be for you. So I hope that this has given you a little perspective about the poppy and how you can use it in your practice. And I wish you all the joy and love today that your little heart can possess. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next time. Next time, I think we're going to go over borage. Borage, I showed you in the garden, those little clips of those little blue flowers. We're going to talk about it. It's called the witch's plant. So that will be next time. Thank you for joining me in my magic garden. Till next month. Bye, guys.